Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Rana if you're new here, and if you're returning, then hi, nice to see you again. On my channel, I'm trying to do a little bit of everything: lifestyle, beauty, career advice. Literally just want to be a resource for you guys, and I want you guys to follow me on my journey in navigating my 20s. So if that's something that interests you, then subscribe below and get ready for a lot more videos. But for today's video, we are going to talk about resume building and how to create the perfect resume for you. So there's no such thing as a perfect resume, obviously, because different recruiters are looking for different things, and even you as an individual, you have different talents that you probably want to showcase. So there's not one perfect resume, but here's the format that I've used to get my internships and my jobs and to get through college, honestly. So just a little bit of background: I am a senior at Virginia Tech, and throughout the past 4 years I have learned a lot, and I feel like it's kind of my passing of the baton, sharing everything that I've learned with you guys. So hopefully throughout these next few months, I'm gonna roll out a bunch of videos regarding kind of career advice, college advice, and honestly anything that you guys want to see. Back to today's video, we're going to talk about kind of the layout for your resume, specifically if you're applying for an internship or your first job, because that's the only experience I have regarding resumes. So without further ado, I hope this video helps you, and if it does, leave a comment below, and if you have any questions at all, DM me on Instagram. I always reply, or leave a comment and we'll start a convo down there. I got my handy dandy iPad and all my notes because I literally do not want to miss a single thing. So take out a pen and paper because I'm going to share a lot of information. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So I'm going to insert a screenshot of my resume right here just so you guys have something to reference and follow along with. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is your resume format. So formatting is very, very important. Statistics say that a recruiter looks at your resume for 7 seconds. So you have 7 seconds to catch their attention. And that doesn't mean have bright colors or a big picture or anything like that, because that's going to capture their attention, but it's also going to distract them. You want to get straight to the point and let them know what you have to offer. Take advantage of those 7 seconds. First, regarding kind of the general format of what your resume should look like. First, I'm going to suggest making sure that it's one page. Recruiters do not have time to flip back and forth and read through all of your accomplishments, even though they are amazing and I know you want to share them. Make sure to create your resume based on the job that you're applying for or the internship you're applying for. Some things don't need to be on your resume if they're not applicable to kind of what you're doing. So you kind of have to be picky, pick and choose what should go on your resume. Especially if you're involved in a lot of different things, you can try to find ways to kind of highlight those in different sections, which we'll kind of go over a little bit later into the video. So make sure that it's concise, clear, and it's one page. And regarding the font size, I'm going to suggest 11 or 12, just because if it's anything smaller than that, it'll be hard to read, and if it's anything bigger than that, it might take up too much space and it might be a little too bulky. Now regarding the font itself, I'm going to suggest Times New Roman or Arial, just because they're both easy on the eyes and they're, I feel like, a lot more professional. I feel like bubbly letters are cute, bold, italicized, all that. Like, all of that is nice, but you definitely do want to kind of make it as clear as possible. So using a font that recruiters are used to looking at will make it a lot easier for them to read. So regarding your resume itself, I'm going to suggest that you do not add any pictures of yourself, just because your work should be speaking for you. And I'm not sure what it's like for other majors, but usually in the tech and business fields, even medical fields, pictures aren't really necessary, and it takes up a lot of space on your resume. It's not really, you know you look good, you know you're not going to get the job because of your looks. So if it's a modeling resume, that's a completely different story. If it's a portfolio, that's a different story. But when it comes to kind of like work resumes, internship resumes, do not add a picture. I know a lot of people do that. It's kind of advised against. And then another thing I'm going to highlight is colors. I know all this advice is just, it seems like I'm trying to suck the life out of your resume and make it look really boring, but these are just tips and tricks that I've kind of picked up. Also, don't feel pressured to apply all these things to your resume. This is just advice that I'm giving on my end. But yeah, no colors. Everything should be one consistent color, one consistent font. Sometimes I take the headings of my resume and I kind of make them a little bit bigger, like maybe by 1 point, just so it kind of stands out more, and I bold them. So that's kind of the gist of what your resume visually should be looking like. Also, another thing to keep in mind when creating your resume, a lot of the times when you're applying for a job online, there's a machine that will scan your resume first before a recruiter even sees it. So when you are typing up your resume, making sure that it's legible will help the machines like be able to, I guess, scan your resume a bit better and look for the keywords that the recruiters are looking for before they get the resumes in their hands. And not all jobs use computer systems to scan their resumes before the recruiters see them, but I know a lot of them do. So once again, this is my resume, and I guess this is kind of the structure that I used for it. So on the top, I kind of started with general information about me, and then right below that I have my education. Below that I have my relevant experience. Then below that I have leadership and organizations that I was a part of. And then at the bottom I have my extracurriculars and then my skills. So now let's talk about that top section. So the biggest thing that should be on your page at the top should be your name, and that's just so that they remember who you are and whose resume they're looking at exactly. So right below that you should have the location that you're in, just so they kind of have a general gist of where you're from. And then you should also include contact information, whether that be your email or your phone number or both. You could also include a link to your LinkedIn or any websites that you have. I personally have a jewelry website that I mentioned lower in my resume, so I wanted to kind of give them the link just so they could access it and see kind of what my website looks like. And then I also personally included my LinkedIn because I do share a lot on there, and it'll kind of give them a bigger picture as to who I am, just because the resume is only one page. But on LinkedIn you can put literally everything and they'll just have more insight as to who you are as a candidate. And when it comes to kind of putting your location on the heading, I personally chose to just do the city I'm in. They don't really need my personal address for anything, and if they do want my personal address, that's something they could ask, but they're not going to really get anything out of that. So I just put like my general city. So after you have your contact information, the first section below that should be your education, just so they know where you're from and what school they'd be recruiting from. So I personally put my university and then my expected graduation date. A lot of employers and recruiters look at that because they need to see what season are they hiring for and when they want you to start, and just a bunch of different things that make that information really super relevant. So I put my university name and then my expected graduation date. Then next to that I put any scholarships that I had. This is totally optional. I personally just did it just to emphasize it. Regardless, if you do want to highlight that, it should be in the education section. So below my college name, expected graduation date, and scholarship, I put my major and then I put my minors. And then on the right side of that, I put my in-major GPA and my cumulative GPA. So the reason I put both was because the internship and the job that I was applying to was relevant to my major, so I wanted to highlight that. And then if you don't want to showcase both, one is just fine. If you're not doing the in-major and regular GPA, I would definitely suggest just doing your regular GPA, just because if your potential employers ask for a transcript, they're gonna ask for your like total cumulative GPA. So now let's get into the next section of the resume. So this section is going to be your relevant experience. So for me, the way I ordered it was based on how relevant it was to the job that I was applying to. I know a lot of people say to chronologically place your different relevant experiences. So for me, that just wasn't the case because I had some ongoing projects, and then I had an internship that I had done the summer before that I wanted to highlight. So it just kind of depends on what you're applying for and what you want to get out of the first 7 seconds. So then I kind of rank them higher in that section regardless of the date. But typically people are going to tell you to rank your relevant experience based on what the last thing you did was, and then the thing before that and the thing before that, in descending order. So regarding the headings for my relevant experience, I first began by putting the name of the company, the location, and then on the far right I put the start date and the end date. Then right below that I put my personal role within that internship, within that job, company, organization, or personal project. I personally would recommend doing 2 to 3 bullets under each experience, so making sure you're concise and straight to the point with those 2 to 3 bullets is very, very important, just because they do not stare at these resumes for a really long time. So regarding what these bullets entail, I'm going to teach you guys about the XYZ method. This method, like, it changed the game for my resume. Like, literally, it made my resume go from like a 5 to an 8. I don't want to, let me humble myself, but it really made my resume look so much better, because recruiters want to see, 1, impact, 2, they want to see exactly what you did, and they want you to get straight to the point. So this XYZ format allows you to efficiently and effectively summarize exactly what you did during that experience. So the way that it goes is accomplished X measured by Y by doing Z. So I'm going to show you guys an example from my resume as to like kind of how I worded a specific task or an accomplishment that I had during my internship. Okay, so for this example, I'm going to talk about my first relevant experience that I have on my resume. So I was an IFS STAR intern at PwC, which is this firm, and for my first bullet I wrote successfully performed PwC audit exercises, which is my X, earning 4 digital badges, which is my Y, through knowledge management research and engagement prep, which is my Z. So that's kind of just a quick example as to how to use that format. So as you can see, that format really helped me highlight what I did in literally one sentence. So it was clear, straight to the point, got to flex what I wanted to flex, and the recruiter probably saw that and was like, oh wow, this is a very straightforward bullet. And then the next thing I want to highlight regarding your bullets, metrics. Okay guys, numbers are so important. These recruiters and these employers, they want to see your impact, and the best way to show impact is by using metrics and measurements to show what your impact did. Like when a recruiter is hiring for their company, they want to know that when you come, you're not all talk, you'll actually get something done and you kind of have something to show for it. And metrics can literally be anything, from the amount of hours you worked, to the amount of people that you helped, to how much money you made. Like, the numbers can literally be anything, but numbers definitely stand out. Especially when you have a resume full of words, you're gonna look for those numbers, especially high numbers. So now that we talked about relevant experience, the section below that is gonna be leadership and organizations. So outside of the work that you do, companies want to see that you're a leader, you're proactive, you take initiative, and they kind of want to see how you're already doing that within your school or within your community. So for me, the 3 things that I put were all my on-campus jobs, because I felt like I showed leadership throughout every role. So the way you organize these bullets can be chronological or based off relevance. So for this section, I made sure that I emphasized the positions that I was in that really emphasized my leadership, and for other extracurriculars, I put it in the next section. And for leadership and organizations, it doesn't have to be a job. It could be something that you're doing in your community, any volunteer work that you're really proud of. It could be your involvement regarding an on-campus event, or even if you were at a conference and you spoke at a panel. Literally anything, just something that really showcases your leadership. And then below that, because I was in a bunch of different clubs, I highlighted the clubs that I was in under a different section called Extracurriculars. And for this section, I just bulleted all the different clubs that I was in, and if I had a leadership position within that club, I just bolded the leadership title. So for example, head of marketing for Hack Violet. So it still emphasized that I had a role, but I didn't go into detail regarding exactly what I did and what the organization was, because I already put the things that I thought were really important in that leadership and organization section. And finally, for my last section, awards, certifications, and skills, I condensed all these things into one just because I felt like, one, there wasn't enough space to kind of write them separately, and I felt like they all kind of complemented each other very well. So for the way I kind of organized this, first I mentioned my specific certifications that I had, and then after the certifications, I went into my technical skills like Tableau or Python, HTML, different coding languages, the things that I felt like were very technical skills that the job I was applying for might be looking for that I already had. And then below that, I put relevant skills like using Microsoft Excel, because I know companies use that, just to show that I am proficient in it. And then finally at the bottom, I put 2 skills that highlighted things I was learning in class that were applicable to the job that I might be applying for or looking to get recruited for. And yeah, so basically that's how I created my resume. That's the structure that I used. And just remember that, like, everybody's resume is gonna look different, and this is by no means me saying my resume is right, your resume is wrong. This is just advice, and honestly, I've had about like 25 different resumes since freshman year. So in the past 4 years, I've changed my resume like more than 4 times a year. Like, I'm always learning something new. If I show you my first resume and my current resume, it's literally polar opposites. And I guess that's the beautiful thing about kind of learning, especially being in college, having so many resources and connections to kind of teach me what employers are looking for or what the right or wrong way to structure a resume is like. I feel like that's something that I'd love to pass on to other people, just in case you don't have these resources, or it's just something that you didn't really think about or something that you didn't know. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope it helped. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye!